let's just get straight into the most obvious thing that we have to talk about is what the goings on with Tyreek Hill. And I'm going to bring up ESPN right now just so I can exactly read what's going on. So, Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill is under investigation on allegations of assault/battery at the Miami Beach Marina. Spokesperson for Miami-Dade Police said Tyreek Hill, an employee, during a disagreement that took place last Sunday, was resulted in Tyreek Hill physically assaulting that said employee, slapping him on the back of the head. As things stand, the employee does not plan on pressing charges. So, legal wise, he's probably in the clear, but now it just comes to be what ends up happening, ramifications from the NFL. So, Donovan, when you first saw that story, what was your initial gut reaction?
I wasn't as gutted as most people thought, especially since when it first came out, the guy it said that he slapped him on the back of the head, so it's probably just like a little, and uh and it was probably like a situation that was like nonchalant, like especially if the guy didn't want to press charges, or now that more information has came to light, it's saying that Tyreek Hill and his crew, so Drew Rosenhaus included, boarded the boat without like consent or whatever. So it was probably someone that tried to like stop him, and he slapped him upside the head and said, "I could buy you and the boat. I'm number 10 for the Miami Dolphins."
Yeah. So
Like,
so what we're gaining from
and
this
so
is
that's
that
probably what
Tyreek Hill
happened.
is completely in the wrong. There is no way to really, as far as everything that we've seen so far, there's no way to paint a picture that Tyreek is not not in the wrong. It is abundantly
Yeah.
clear to me at this point. My first reaction was just, not even as a Dolphins fan, just kind of like, all right, was that on the bingo sheet of players getting in trouble in the offseason? Tyreek Hill slapping a dude on a boat in the back of the head. You know, there's every offseason, and it's unfortunate to see the amount of trouble that NFL players get in offseason after offseason, and it just never seems to get any better.
It really it's mind-boggling. But like in this instance, like yeah, he was in the wrong, but it wasn't like anything like so abundantly like, oh yeah, he needs to be suspended, like how even Derek from the Detroit Lions syndicate, he was saying that he thinks he should get suspended, and I'm like, I why? Like what, like from what I'm gathering, after that incident, they still went and had a good time on the boat. Like that's what I'm gathering from the whole thing. So like yeah, he was in the wrong and they got off on the wrong foot, but the guy's not trying to press any charges. They went on, had a good time. Someone probably saw it and reported it, and now they're saying if the guy wants to press charges, he has to go to like the federal level or something.
Yeah, and the only thing is it's Tyreek Hill, so he does have some already
A
blemishes on
history.
his record. He already has a history, so I think some sort of punishment is going to come. I think a suspension would be absolutely ridiculous. This is we're so far still away from the season. Like you mentioned, the day kept going on. I think a fine is definitely a reasonable response to this. However, man, it's just the team right now has so much positive momentum. Yes, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day, but like look what's going on right now with Buffalo. The issue with Stephon Diggs and how that's really blowing up the locker room there, blowing up in the media everywhere. I don't think that's going to happen here with Tyreek Hill, but you just don't want anything to really disrupt the positive momentum that we've had like the end of last season going into the offseason.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I'm just like I'm trying to like look at like more stuff, and it's that's really it. Like there hasn't been a lot of information. The guy doesn't want to press charges. I agree with you on the whole. It's stupid. It's stupid of him to kind of even put himself in that position where he could be like. Now, like I said, I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming, but the the slap on the head was probably reactionary to someone trying to stop him from going on the boat and touching him. But regardless of that fact, it's stupid of him to do what he did in the first place, to just like put himself in that position to where he could possibly get fined or suspended and hurt the team. Like, and there's been a lot of light around the Dolphins recently, like you said. There's been a lot of light. We're in a positive direction. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, just off the top of your head, at least in recent history, what was the worst off the field incident you can remember a Miami Dolphins player getting into? I have one that comes to the top of my head, but I'm curious if you have anything that you remember.
Miami Dolphins, I mean, the worst.
Because as far as I'm
the
aware,
worst probably.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The worst that affected the team the most is definitely Ricky Williams.
Okay.
Like the last one that I remember was Ocho Cinco when he got stopped by the cops for like a DUI or something, and then
my mind first went to was the Richie Incognito bullying scandal. I think that's the one that had the biggest impact on the actual team, because that is a team member bullying another team member, and that really blew up in the media. And I mean, you don't get any more. What's the way I want to word this? You can't really negatively affect the locker room more than one player harassing another player, especially in his own position group. Like, those are the guys that are supposed to be sticking up for each other. And Richie, what was his name? What was the guy he was bullying on the offensive line?
Jonathan Martin.
Yes. If you have Incognito bullying Martin like that in their own position group, these guys are supposed to have each other's back, and he is actively bullying him to the point that it comes out to the media. Like, one thing I really give a lot of credit for to the Steelers is how they handle like negative issues and how they really try to keep it in-house. And then Antonio Brown pretty much made that impossible while he was there. But you want to keep things like that as in-house as possible. And once that hit the media, that hit and caught fire immediately.
I always thought that was stupid, not going to lie to you. Like, when more information came out, I'm like, damn, like some of it was like pretty bad, but I'm also like, maybe I'm a little too harsh, but I'm like, oh, you're a big offensive lineman in the NFL that was a fairly high draft pick. I think Jonathan Martin was a second-round pick, and you're just taking what this guy is throwing at you.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably a little bit harsh on my end, but that was just my thinking way back when. Like, now I kind of think about it and I'm like, damn, that was a little harsh. But
yeah, especially with the guy with
that's just where I was back then.
He has some.
That was also 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's why I was just asking. That's the first one that came up in my mind. Like, especially in retrospect now, the Ricky Williams whole saga. As far as I can remember, it was just weed, right? Was there anything else that happened?
It was just weed. It's just weed.
Yeah. So like now
it's Josh Gordon.
Where
Josh Gordon is Ricky 2.0.
Where most of the country has weed legalized in some fashion, like, and I mean, there's arguments that can be made that it should be encouraged for NFL athletes in terms of them being able to heal themselves and stuff. Like, this is something that, looking back now, is ridiculous that was a thing in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA stopped testing for it. The MLB stopped testing for it. Like, it's still an illegal substance, but they stopped testing for it.
Yeah.
And the NCAA is now in the process of like looking at their marijuana protocols and being like, okay, do we really need to be so strict with this? Do we really need a test for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's not a performance enhancing drug.
Yeah, absolutely not. And it's something that, hopefully the NFL will eventually come around on. But with Tyreek, we'll see in the next week or so what the NFL does. I'm sure the NFL is going to let the Miami-Dade Police Department do any sort of investigation before they come to any conclusion of their own. I can't see it being anything more than a fine. You agree?
I think there's going to be a fine from the team, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's actually probably the best case scenario is the team just handles it, doesn't let the NFL even bother to get involved, and then it just comes to a quick ending is the best thing for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think this is going to go away very quickly. I know Andy Slater, who's the first one to really report on it, is trying to make it this huge thing. Like, when he's tweeting out the story, and he's putting in like capital letters, and he's trying to make it something it isn't. Just because we're in that part of the off season where there's really not that much news going on, and yeah, so it's not.
It's just one
not
of
that
those
big of a
things
deal.
that I mean, I think it definitely is worth talking about, but I don't think it's going to result in any serious ramifications that's going to negatively affect the Miami Dolphins.